Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live session. And we are in Ops 110, so we are studying Linux this term. So the course itself, let me get logged into that. Computer's running a little slow this morning, but I'm getting there. All right, so our course is Linux operating systems. This is what we are covering this term. There's a lot of things that we're going to get to learn about Linux. It's very, very cool. And I highly recommend that if you go into administrator, Linux is important. And if you go into security, you may find that learning Kali Linux will be even more supportive. But one thing you need to do for sure is just start learning command line and how that works. And oftentimes the reason we're going to use command line is even if you're using a Microsoft Windows server, there are times when you're in the GUI and you click on commands and those commands just aren't going to work for you. And you have to go in and force it in the command line. So it's very, very important to understand the command line. So again, we're here at week 1, and what we have here is our home page. You can see your daily checkpoints are here. You need to do those. If you do those every day, you're going to end up with some extra credit. But let me just explain something about how the grade book works. Whenever, and you can check your grade book over here on grades, but whenever everything is averaged each term, and that is the way the grade book works, you will not see your 100% until you get more towards the end of the course. So you guys are going to have a lab instructor for this course. So if you need any help with the labs and the things like that beyond what I'm showing you, you can certainly go and talk to your lab instructor, and your lab instructor can really help you to work through that. So trying to bring it over where you can see it. I guess I'll just do a new share, just being stubborn. Okay, so your lab instructor is Jason Wolf, and he can be contacted. He'll put in an announcement to tell you how to contact him. If you go into the live session area, you can also see there how to contact him. Okay, so if you're in here and you click on live session, you see here's my live session link. Here it is if you need to copy and paste it into the browser. And I apologize, I do not see that he has put his information in here. I thought that he did. Let me check in the about in the instructor. Okay, so he's got some information in here. This is how you can schedule with him, and this is his Zoom room on how you can contact him. And he should probably be putting out some announcements. Hopefully, yep, there's an announcement right there. So he put in his lab information right here in the announcement so that you can see that as well. So he's going to be working with you guys when you need any extra help. And if you want extra points, it's excellent to work with him. And he can give you something called professional communication points. This is something that, you know, is new that we're adding. You can't get any more than like 10, but if you have a good conversation with him and you're learning from him, then, you know, like I said, they're extra credit points. So if you have a good grade and you don't need them, that's okay too. But if you need them, go for it. Go talk to him, get the help that you need, and make sure that you're understanding what's going on. So you have 2 discussions. You need to complete both of those discussions. Make sure you're completing your main discussion reply by Wednesday, but all of it is due by Sunday. So your main discussion reply is due by Wednesday. You could get points counted off. I don't count points off for that, but other instructors may. So you want to get in that habit of making sure you're getting that first discussion reply by Wednesday in both discussions. And then you've got to reply to 3 others. I suggest saving your discussion in Microsoft Word and copy and pasting it into the discussion, because if you happen to put something in and then for some reason it loses it or it disappears, that can be really frustrating, especially when you had to go out and you had to do some research, right? That could be super, super frustrating. So make sure that you keep it in Word. Word also will do your APA absolutely for you pretty easily. And so all you have to do is then copy and paste and it'll be correct in there. Then you have the assignment. And when we get to the assignment, when we go down to, I don't know why this stuff isn't working, guys, but I can't fix it. So that's up to them to fix, but I can put a ticket in, but we'll see how they fix it. Anyways, week 1 assignment is going to be chapters 1 through 4, labs 111 through 4.58. So you'll need to be going, and this is mod 4. So you will need to log in to your test out. Okay. And this is going to look a little bit different than yours because I have a lot of different courses. But if you see these lists of courses, you want to make sure that you're in mod 4 for this term. Okay. ops110 mod 4. So of course, if I click on that, I can see, you know, all the students that are in the course. Test Out Linux Pro will actually take you to all of this information right here. And so we're going to work through some of these labs today. Do we have any questions from anyone before I get started? Okay, great. All righty. I don't know what I did with this thing I'm looking for. Oh, I think I know where they're at. Okay. All right. So here's how your Linux is going to work. Now, granted, this jumped in here 8.8.4. I've been in here a lot. I've been doing all kinds of different things. Okay. So you need to go up here to the introduction. Each of these things means something different. So this is a video that you should watch. These are fact pages. And then this is like a mini lab that can just help you to kind of figure out how to look around and go in there. And then this is just a mini lab that's showing you how to do the lab simulator. Okay. Then yours are 1.1.1 through 4.5.8. Okay. So all of this needs to be completed. These are your videos, facts, and practice questions. And you can see that by the icon that's next to it. So if we go 1.1.1, you can either just play the video, or if you're somebody that, you know, maybe your mind wanders off just a little bit while you're watching these videos, you could play with interactive script, and then you can read out loud to yourself while you watch the video.
The adoption of the Linux operating system has been a really interesting thing to observe. Now, understand that when Linux was first introduced back in the early 1990s, it pretty much went unnoticed. Nobody paid attention to it. And that's because the professionals in the information.
Okay. So you will need to make sure that you're going through and you are listening to all of these videos. And then you can hit the arrow to the next and listen to the next video, arrow on to the next. Now, when you get ready to turn in your scores, let's see, I think I need to view this as a student. Okay, so when you get ready to get into your course, you're going to see your test out Linux Pro here, mod 4. This is the course that, of course, you're going to be taking this in. And then here's your exams. So you may have some exams that you're going to take that are going to be required in the term. And here's where they're going to be. Right now, there's 0 in there, but you'll see them show up if you have any exams in here. Between the videos, the practice questions, the labs, and the fact pages, all that knowledge together is going to help you to be able to complete these labs. So let's open Test Out Linux Pro. You can go through the course introduction and such. Okay. Now I'm going to do the first lab for you. Let's see. Zero dot 1.3, manage Linux files. Okay, so we're going to open that up. Now, if you have 2 screens, or if you have the ability to maybe copy all of this and put it in a notepad or something like that where you can look at it, it is going to also be in the lab. But for those of you that need the scratch off, like, okay, I got this part done, I got this part done, because you don't want to miss steps in this lab. So if you need that scratch on, then just go ahead and use that and do that and utilize that. Okay. Now, here's the thing too, also with Test Out, I'm using Edge to do this work. It doesn't necessarily support Firefox, and I believe that they have some issues with Chrome. So if you're having trouble with your lab showing up as completed, you probably are going to want to run a virus scan on your computer. Make sure you don't have any viruses, adware. No, even if you have like a Google toolbar in here, that could actually mess with your labs being completed properly. Make sure that if you have any trouble whatsoever and you go to Test Out, they have support right here and some student resources. They also have the knowledge base, so you can get help. They have a chat right here if you're having any kind of problems. And you have a lot of labs to do, and you only have 4 weeks to do them in. So my best advice is get on these from the very first day. Make sure you're getting in there and doing them. And then as you are getting them all done, get them up and get them turned in, because if you get behind on these, you're just going to feel like you're really overwhelmed and like you're drowning, because there is a lot of them. So staying on top can be the best thing that you can do. All right, so I'm going to click Start Lab. You'll see there's a scenario here. It says in the simulation, you use Linux commands to touch VI, CP, MV, CD, LS, and RM to manage these files from the command line. You're currently in the W. Adams home directory. Now, by the time you get to this lab, you will have already gone through here, and you've already done the fact check sheets. You've already done, and so you've got an idea already what touch does or what that command does, right? So that's an important thing to do, is make sure that you do not miss out on that training. So in this lab, we're going to delete a file as follows. So the command ls-l and hit enter. And basically what this does is it gives us a list of all of the files that are in this directory. We also see who the individual owner is. We see who the group owner is, and we see what rights they have. Okay. And we also see the size October 15th, 2010 was the last time anyone had edited these files. So these are the files. Now, once we've done that and we can see that there's a list of files in there, we want to remove the old myfile.txt. We're going to use rm as the command, old, and you have to spell it exactly. If you misspell it, it's not going to work. Okay, so rm old underscore myfile.txt, exactly how this is spelled, and then hit enter. And it's going to ask you, do you want to remove this file or not? Put in the letter Y and then hit enter. And then boom, it has been removed. Let's look ls-l just to make sure. And yes, the file is gone, because you can see what the file list was before. And now that file is gone. So you can see that it did remove the file. Now the touch command will create a new file. So let's create a new file. I'm down here on number 2 now. Type touch new file, new myfile.txt, not new file, new underscore myfile.txt. Okay, so touch new underscore myfile.txt and then press enter. And what that's supposed to do is create a whole new file. So now let's do the ls-l and let's just see, whoop, there it is. New myfile.txt. You can see it has 0 bytes in it because we haven't put any text in the actual file yet, right? There's nothing there. So there's 0 bytes in there. Now it says, press the I key, type VI, you do not want to skip across these, type VI new myfile.txt. So there's an editor and the name of that editor is called VI. It's a very old editor, but it's actually still used today. So VI new underscore myfile.txt and hit enter. And what this does is this puts us in an editor, you know, like if you have Notepad open or if you have Microsoft Word app open where you can edit a file, you're doing the same thing here. You're just doing it all in the command line process. Now, once we get this open, we need to press the I key. We need to press the I key so that we can get into insert mode, because unfortunately, because this is so old, unlike Word and Notepad where you can just get in there and start typing, you have to tell it you want to start typing. So I'm going to press the letter I. You won't see me press it, but you will see that this changes to insert down here at the bottom. So when you see that that command has changed to insert, then you know you've done it correctly. Okay. Next, we're going to type some text for new myfile.txt. Even when you're typing inside the VI editor, make sure you're doing it exact, just because these are virtual labs, you know, and they work like a robot would work. So if you were supposed to put a capital S and you don't put a capital S, it may not recognize that that was correct. Okay. So make sure you do it exactly. Some text for new myfile.txt. Okay. Once you're done with that, you can press the escape key. That exits the insert mode, so we can no longer edit the file. Next, we want to type :WQ. If you do not type this in this order, this will not show up correctly and you will get a message. But once you type the colon, it's going to argue with you like, no, you typed colon. You have a command to enter. Get in there and enter it. I don't like this. You'd have to do what you said you were going to do. So WQ it is, and hit enter. Okay. Now, what we've done is we've saved that file and we closed it by typing in WQ. Save, exit. Okay. Now, next, we're going to copy a file to a different directory, and we're going to rename it as follows. So we're going to type cp new myfile.txt. Make sure there's a space in here, /home /w adams /practice. So if you're practicing, I'm going to make a mistake just so you can see what it does. Okay. So CP, if you're practicing this and you make this mistake, it doesn't mean you can't redo it. So CP new my file dot text home W Adams practice. So I made a mistake in here. So let's see what happens. Okay. So it says missing destination file operand after new myfile.txt because I didn't put in the space. I also didn't spell the file correctly. And so it's like, I can't find it. Help me. All right. So I will help you all right. I'll do it again. CP, let's see, new underscore myfile.txt. Okay. And then space home W Adams practice, enter. Now we have copied our file. So we copied with the CP command, we copied this new myfile.txt to the home W Adams practice folder. So we copied it. It's here in this folder, but it's also in this practice folder. Okay. Next, it says type CD. So CD is change directory. So right now we're in the work1 directory and we want to change the directory to the practice directory. So I'm going to type CD space / home W Adams practice. Has to be spelled correctly, and hit enter. Okay, so now we are in the practice directory. And now if we do ls-l, then we can see that the new file has been moved to this directory, and there it is. Awesome, isn't it? Now we did everything in here. It says pay special attention to use correct spelling and spacing when using command line interface. Commands must be typed exactly. And it is exactly correct with that. It has to be typed exactly. Okay. When you're done with the lab, click Score Lab. And there is something that I missed. If you do not get the 100%, because if you miss anything, it's not going to give you 100%. If you miss anything at all, you are not going to get 100%. So it says copy the new file to the practice directory, which is what we did. But what we forgot to do was we forgot to rename it. So out of all that, we only did one little thing wrong. And so we didn't pass. Okay. This can be frustrating to you as a student. So you know what you got to do? You got to go in and do it again. Start the lab. Okay. You can do it again. And you're going to get faster and you're going to get better if you do. So first we're going to do ls-l. We can see here is the list. Now we want to type remove my old file.txt. So I'm going to move a little quicker with this. Do you want me to remove it? Yes. Okay. And then next it says ls-l. Woohoo, it's gone. All right. Then we're going to do the touch. And enter. So we created the new file. ls-l. You can now see there's a new file. Now we're going to go into the VI. So you use the command VI and then you put in the name of the text. To edit it, hit I for insert. Type in some text for new myfile.txt. Okay, and then hit your escape key to escape it. Then type in :WQ, enter. And now we're back to number 4 here. So we're going to copy cp new my file.txt. And I'm just going a little faster so we can get to the next lab as well. W Adams practice and hit enter. Okay. Then once we did that, we're going to change directories and hit enter. You can see now that we are in that directory, ls-l. You can see the new file is in there. Then we need to make sure to do the mv new myfile.txt final. And mv sounds like move the file, but what it does is it changes the name. So we've got the new file.txt, and we're going to change the name to final myfile.txt and then hit enter. Okay. Then when we do an ls-l, we can see that the name has been changed of that file. Then we can click Score Lab, and this time we got 100% pass. Okay. So literally, if you don't get a pass on this, it could be you just missed one thing, and all it needs is a little bit of practice. Or if maybe you're like, oh, how did I not see this to miss that? Maybe you just need to, at the beginning of your lab, copy and paste that into a Word document and then highlight it as you go, or delete it as you go to make sure that you're not missing any single line. Okay. All right, cool. We got that one done and correct. So now let's go. Again, when you get to this Linux overview, you need to go through all of these. And if you don't get the score that you want on the practice questions, go back, review what you missed. You don't have to review everything. Review the concepts that you missed, maybe by looking at the facts here. Okay. And then go back and take that again. And what that does is it helps to put it into your mind a little bit better. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, going through school, I mean, yeah, you're learning Linux. You're not going to feel like you are a Linux professional probably by the time you're done in 4 weeks. It's going to take some time, okay, and some practice. So I don't want you to feel bad if you're like, I don't know everything. Even when you graduate school and you go into your first job, they don't expect you to know everything. You're not going to know everything. But I'll give you a key to your resume. And that key on your resume is that any of this hands-on work that you do, if you're using TestOut, you need to put that on your resume as your experience, because it is. And when you go into IT, you got to have experience to get experience. And it's like, how do I get in? That's how, right there. So you put your experience on your resume. Don't lie about where you got your experience. Make sure they know you did this in school, okay? But it still shows experience, and it's still going to get you that first entry-level job. All right, so those. Now, using Linux, okay. When you get here, we've got, this is a video. These little things with the arrows, these are also videos, okay? So really what we're going to do is we're going to get in here into the lab 2. I thought there was another one in here. Nope, I don't see it. Okay. They change things all the time. So 2.2.4, get help 1. I'm going to also give you a little insight into something. So if you're looking at this and you're like, okay, according to the command help, which of the following options can be added to kill all command to kill a process group instead of just a process? So type kill all -8 or kill all -- help at the prompt to answer this question. Now you can go into the lab, okay? But say that you went through and you did all this stuff and you're still confused about how to complete this lab. A little cheat you can do is click Score Lab, check my answer, and then now you get not only the explanation on what it is that you're supposed to do, okay, but you also can reset your lab and you can see where you need to go to reread whatever information it is in order to be able to answer it. So for this Get Help 1, your answer should have been a -G, because you use the -G option with the kill all command to kill the process group. Okay. And then, so once you get your answer, you just reset it and then check your answer. And it's good. And then you can go on to the next one. Okay. Any questions so far? All right. So I've already showed you how to do a lab like this. So I'm going to skip these and let's go. Let's just take a look at these practice questions. These practice questions really are used in order to help you to know if you're getting everything that you need to be getting. It's not done in such a manner that, oh, if you don't get them all right, you're just going to flunk the course. So I don't want any of you to think like that. I want you to go in there, start the exam, and answer the questions from what you learned from your material, okay? And then you can learn whether or not you've gotten it. So, I mean, I didn't even read the question, but if I select these three, you have this button right here, check answer. So not only does it tell you if your answer is correct, but it gives you an explanation as to why it isn't correct. And guess what? If you don't understand the explanation or you don't have a clear, okay, what does this actually mean? You can go back to the section here and you can listen to it again, or you can watch it again and figure out what did you miss about these commands so that you didn't get this correct. Okay. And you can take these practice questions as many times as you like. Oh, no worries. No worries. I'm also going to do a recording and I'm going to post that recording as well. But you just go through these, you put in your answer, you check your answer. I'm not going to show you what these answers are because I want you to make sure that you're learning, right? Okay. So when you're done, you tell it to score, and then it's going to give you this list. And you can actually go through this list and figure out, okay, why did I miss this question? Why did I miss that question? There's links. So like for this one, for example, I can click right on that link and it takes me right to the facts where that information was so that you can go back and work on understanding the concept. Okay. All right, let's do some more labs. Okay, 2.3.5, create a new file. Again, if you're someone that you just need to mark that stuff off to make sure that you are in the right spot, then you can just click on this right here. And that hopefully will be helpful to you. Okay, so I'm going to click Start Lab. Again, remember that if you have any issues with your browser, if you have adware, if you have anything like that, it can certainly give you a problem. And you're going to want to contact your support, make sure that things are working for you. You got 4 weeks. You don't have time to play around, right? So you got to stay on it, guys. In this lab, your task is going to be to open the VIM editor with a new file named etc prep shell Add the following lines to the file: shell equals bin ch, or export shell, and then change and close the file. Okay. So say if you didn't know, if you couldn't remember any of these, and you're like, what was this? What did I do? I don't understand. Sometimes you're going to run across it even after you've done the reading and even after you've gone through it, and you're just going to forget some things, you know, because commands are not necessarily the easiest thing to remember. They're just not. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in VI to open the editor. etc pref underscore shell and hit enter. Okay. So now that I'm in the new VI editor, okay, now I'm going to press the A key to go into insert mode for this. This is a little bit different editors, VIM editor. So we're going to push the A key to go into insert mode. You can see the insert mode is right here. Okay. And I'm going to type in oops. Everything has to be spelled correctly. Okay. All right. So you notice how I have the capitals in there exactly the way it is listed here. Okay. Then I'm going to press the escape key to no longer be in insert mode. Then I'm going to put in colon WQ. That part is the same, and hit enter. And that saves the file and exits the file. So next, we're just going to click score lab. You can see 100% pass. So it was done correctly. And then I'm done with that lab. All right. Now, as you're going through and getting these labs done, you see the little green check mark right there? This means that it is logging that I am getting that completed. So anything that I've done here where we get this little green check mark shows that I got it completed. And look, I forgot to do that lab. I forgot to do that lab. So it's really not all that difficult to make sure that you're getting all of these done, right? And again, too, if you start and you just hit next, 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 then, you know, you're also getting this done. Okay. Let's do modify an existing file. Okay. When you're ready to do this, just click Start Lab. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. I was just coughing and coughing and coughing. Okay, so allergies. So you have just added a custom script to change and export the shell environment variable in the C shell. However, you decided to change from the C shell to the TSCH. So in this lab, your task is to open etc pref shell in Vim, then modify the environmental variable line shell equals bin as CSH to read shell equals bin TCSH, and then you're going to save your changes. Okay, so let's type in VI. Whoops, got to make sure you're clicked in there. VI space etc pref shell, and then enter. We're going to press A to edit. Okay, and then we're just gonna go over here and put in T, and then shell /bin TCSH, which is what they want you to change this to. Then we have to save it. So we got to press escape to exit, :WQ to save, then hit enter. Okay. Then if you score the lab, you see the 100% pass, then you know that you've gotten this lab done correctly. If you have not gotten the lab done correctly, you can copy the directions right here, put them into Word, and because you can literally just right click and copy and put them into Word or whatever. Or if you're having problems with that, you can always take a screenshot like this and, save that screenshot, move it over to another monitor or whatever. And then that way you can practice with the instructions until you get it right. Okay. So done. Notice now I have the 2 green marks right there. Okay. So next we need to use the nano editor. The nano editor. So this is the 3rd editor that you get to play with, isn't it? Alrighty. Fun. Stuff is fun. So let's click Start Lab. Okay. And the first thing it says in this lab, your task is to use nano etc resolve.config to open the file. So we're going to type in nano. And then this is the file folders we're going through. Okay. Make sure you spell everything correctly and hit enter. Okay. So now I need to modify this file to include the following information. So name server needs to be changed, and this name server address needs to be changed. Okay, so I'm just going to use my arrow to arrow over and then backspace it. (163.128.80.93). Okay. Then it says to type Control+0 to save the file. So I'm going to push the Control button down, and then I'm going to push the letter 0. And now it says file name to write, etc resolve.conf. Okay. Hit enter. And it wrote 3 lines. And so we did save it. Next, we need to hit Control+X. So I hit the Control key. Now I'm hitting the X key, and that gets me to exit the file. Now I'm going to click Score Lab, and you can see I did it correctly. There's 100% pass. Done. Okay. Any questions so far? Perfect. So you can just arrow over. You would do practice questions next. These are fact sheets. You can print these if you need to. Something I like to do is I like to use OneNote to save all my files. So in OneNote, you could create a new tab, Test Out Linux Pro, and then you could do a new page on each tab to save a lot of your commands and the information. So then you could use these commands whenever you get ready to go do the labs. And honestly, doing the hands-on labs will be what really helps you to remember those commands more than anything. And you'll do all of these, and then you'll get to the next lab. Okay. Any questions so far? Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys like a 10-minute break so we can come back like right before 11 and then we can talk about it some more. See you soon. Hello and welcome back, everybody. Yeah, did you see what we did there? Did you see what we did there? We took a break. Okay. When you get frustrated, when you're working hard in here and you're like, oh, I'm just not seeing it, I'm not seeing it, I'm not seeing it, I'm not seeing it. Take a break. Take a break. Don't be too hard on yourself, right? Take a break. Okay. Because it's okay. You can do that. You really can. You really can. All right. So let's look at this lab 2.5.4. This question includes a lab to help you answer these questions here. So to which values are set for the following environment variables? Type echo variable at the prompt to answer this question. And the variables are case sensitive. Okay, so you're going to run into case sensitive a lot in labs. All right, so let's type in echo variable. Okay, right here. So echo, and then let's use the $ home and see how that goes. All right, so the home is equal to the root. Okay, the home is equal to the root. And yeah, get a piece of paper and write that down because that's what's going to be your answer on the next screen. Okay. Little trick is we can hit our up arrow and that brings us the last command that we had. We can keep going up to, I can't remember if I think it's 5 commands that you can do that with. And then I'm going to type in lang. And that one is the en_us.utf8. Okay. Up arrow, spell, or I'm sorry, shell. Spell would not work. Okay. Enter, bin and bash. And then the last one is term. Enter. And then that one is Linux. So when we go to hit score lab, when you have the questions on the front, what it's going to do is it's just going to move you back to the beginning where you have these questions. And you got to put in the answers. Okay. And then when you're done, you click check my answer and it'll show you that you got all the answers correct. And that means that you can move on to the next one. You're going to go through these practice questions and see what you may need to review. Review what you need and then come back and take the practice questions again, because that's going to help keep things in your brain a little bit better. Okay. Go through these facts and read them. You know what else you can do to help this stay in your brain a little bit better is you can just grab a notebook and a pen and you can write this stuff down. You can take these notes. Okay. Taking notes and then going over your notes really helps to reinforce your learning. And it does depend on your learning style. So it wouldn't hurt to do a little bit of research on learning styles to see what kinds of things you can do to help you remember things a little bit better. Okay. You could also print this out, or, you could take a screenshot and save it in Word or something like that. I like Notepad because Notepad separates everything. So let me just give you a little clue here. I'm going to show you. So I have Notepad and I have like all these videos that I've created to help with these students. And so I can separate by course, right? And keep a list here. I can create my sections over here. Okay. I can keep all this information and I can even keep separate books. So whatever different areas I need, I can keep those separate books, and they're going to stay there, and you can have them either, sync with the cloud, or you could tell it to sync to a backup drive or something. But this will help because no one remembers everything, and you'll always be able to go back and review anything that you need to. Okay? Any questions? All right, so I'm just going to show you how to do the next lab. 2.8.6. You like that? Good. 2.8.6, find the working directory. So in this lab, you're going to type PWD at the prompt to answer the question, what is your current working directory? So I'm going to click View Lab. What is your current working directory? So what did it say we were going to type? PWD. It's really weird because we want to think PWD is password. I'm just going to give you a really good clue when it comes to Linux, okay? The things that we're doing right now, the commands that we're doing right now work really well in Ubuntu, but they do not work in every Linux version. So as techs, you will not be expected to know anything. You'll just be expected to know how to figure it out, right? So you're going to use Google a lot. If you have Ubuntu and you're using Ubuntu, and then they bring in a whole different flavor of Linux and it has different commands, you're going to be like, uh-oh, this command I put in, I'm used to using, it doesn't work. Guys, that's why we have Google, honestly. You will not be able to use Google, of course, when you go to take an exam, but your exams are going to be more specific. Like this, for example, this test out that you're doing right here is helping you to learn how to earn the Linux Plus certification. So in a Linux Plus certification, it's not necessarily vendor specific. So they're going to use the most common commands, which is most commonly used and most common in different businesses is what I'm going to say. Okay. And you get to practice and you get to play with that and you get to learn and you get to grow. And then what's going to happen is, yeah, you're going to be slapped sideways and be like, here, go and do this. And be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Let me just give you a good example. I'm at work one day. Okay. This is my first job in the field. And my job was to build classrooms so students could learn. And, those classrooms had to be built to a certain set of specs based on what Microsoft wanted me to do. Okay. And so I get this guide for this course. And the first line on the guide says, build a multi-homed router. And I'm thinking, well, where's the instructions on building a multi-home router? And what is a multi-home router? I don't even know what that is. I don't remember listening in or hearing or studying about a multi-home router while I was in school. So I don't know what they're talking about. Research. And I did research it. And I did learn what a multi-homed, and what is it? I took a PC and I put 4 different network cards in it. And then I connected them all together, and one side of the classroom had a completely different IP scheme than the other side of the classroom, but yet I was able to use routing and remote access in the server so that even though they couldn't see each other on the network, they were all still able to use the services that they needed and be able to do their job. So I isolated with security and still gave them the ability to do what they needed to do. It's a pretty cool concept, really. But I didn't know how to do that before, even though I was already on the job. Okay. So there's going to be some uncertainty, and you just got to be able to go with the flow. And if you can't find the answer, then you need to ask questions. Okay. It's okay to ask. So PWD, hit enter, and it's home W Adams is our current working directory. So I'm going to click Score Lab, and I'm going to type in home W Adams and check my answer. Oops. See, now I wanted to show you this because you could have one little line and it's going to count incorrectly because it knows what the answer is, and that answer has to be exact or it's going to freak out. No big deal. reset, home, W Adams. Leave the line off the end. There you go. Now it's all done and you can move on to the next one. See, so that wasn't really that big of a deal, right? Are you guys feeling comfortable with attacking these labs? Good. That's what I want to hear. When you get a really hard lab, I know one person was late, so I just want to go over this one more time. When you get a really hard lab and you don't get it all, so like the delete files, if we mess this up and we didn't get everything, we would just click start lab. We go in, we try to do all this stuff, but maybe we didn't correctly. When we go to the score lab, it's going to say not passed. But what it's also going to do is it's going to say, here's the instructions on how to complete this lab. You can select it, copy it, put it in Word on, either a different screen, or you can write it down, whatever is easiest for you to do. You could print it out, if you need the paper, whatever's easiest for you to do, but copy it into Word. And then you can go, okay, let me try this again. All right. Then we're going to remove -F. We're going to use that command to delete these files without prompting. So dark horse 1, I'm going to type in rm-f projects. Whoops, I didn't get my space in there. That's important. Projects, dark horse 1, and hit enter. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the next file. Now, I know this because it says from the projects directory, right? So projects, now camouflage 1. So projects directory, endgame 1, enter. And then when you're finished, it says right down here, use the ls command to verify the deletion. So you could use just straight ls. You could use ls-l, and that gives you a little bit more information, as you can see, because it puts it all in a list instead of just putting it out this way, and you get more information, like who has access to that, right? And then when it was done, you got the file size, you get whether or not this file's there, you get the rights to the file, so you get a little bit more information. So this part right here, let me just draw on the screen a little bit. So this part right here is called a switch. And that part right there is the actual command. Okay. So a switch is a variation of a command. So it'll do the same thing, but then have a little bit more functionality. Okay. Are we clear on what a switch is? Awesome. Now, when you are done, you're going to, I got to get my mouse back. You're going to click Score Lab. You can see you're done when you get the 100% pass. Then click Done. Okay. Move files. Okay. So 2.9.9, move files. Peter Lacey, or P. Lacey is the username there, has taken an extended leave from a company of personal reasons. However, he's been working on a critical project code named White Horse with several other employees. The project leader requested that you move any White House documents in Peter Lacey's home directory to Brenda Cassini's home directory. You're logged in as W Adams. So you're going to use the MV command to move the files. You must log in as the root user to have necessary permissions for other people's files. Okay, if you don't log, if you're not a root user, you will not be able to do it. So this tells you what you need to do in order to complete this lab. Not necessarily how to do it, but what you need to do. So go ahead and click Start Lab. And sometimes it may take a little bit to load. I mean, that's just the nature of things. If you're having problems with your internet connection between, you'll probably get a pop-up that'll come up and say, you know, you're having some internet connection issues. And there has been times when I've used it that it will pop up and say, you have internet connection issues. And I know that I completed something, but when I clicked Score Lab, it showed that it didn't. And so my advice to you is sometimes that can happen and you just want to go in and do it again. But most of the time, you can think that that's the cause when really the cause is you're just not doing the lab the way they want you to do it. So I challenge you to score the lab, get the directions, and then go back through and make sure that you're doing it correctly. Okay. So switch to the root user using one worm 4B8 for the root user. Which one is this? Two. I have that one. And say that you were going along and you were in there before, okay? And you're like, well, I kind of forgot what that command is. It's going to happen. It is, honestly, it's going to happen. That's the nature of things. So if you forget, you could start over. You could close the lab, you could go back in and you could review whatever it is that you can do, but you can also go through, score lab, get your wonderful directions here. Okay, copy those, put them in the Word like I'm doing here. And then I will sit here and I will follow each and every thing in order to get in there, because it's going to depend again on the version that you're using and you may forget. So then you're going to just go back in and click Start Lab. And often, and this is pretty much across the board, regardless of which Linux version you have. You want root access, you're going to type in either SU or SUDO. In this case, they're having you use SU, but what's also common is the SUDO. And so not having going back over the commands, I was like, okay, do I use SU or do I use SUDO? Well, I can remind myself by going through, taking this off and then writing down what it, what it is and how I'm supposed to do it. So they say type at the prompt, type in SU with a dash and then press enter. This says command not found. So in the instructions, sometimes they can tell you to put a dash in there, and sometimes you think that's supposed to be in there, and maybe that's really just the wording that they had to separate that you're supposed to do SU and then just press enter. So when you come across this kind of stuff, don't be discouraged if this doesn't work. Just try it in a different manner. Like, okay, take that off, or maybe there's a space, or maybe you misspelled it, or maybe it's a capital or something to that effect. Okay. So this is the password for the root user, one worm 4B8. When you type in the password, you're not going to be able to see it. This is a security thing because they don't want anyone to shoulder surf behind you and be able to see what password you're putting into the server. So trust me, I did put in the password. And now I have access to root at work 1 Adams. If you don't get this access, then you didn't put in the password correctly. Okay. So now we're going to move those files. It wants me to move this file and this file and move them to Picassini's home directory. Okay, so I'm going to type in MV home. All right. Home P. Lacey config WH. So this is currently where we have this. And the only reason I know this is because when it comes to the user files, they're always going to be in the home directory. And then P. Lacey is the user. So home, P. Lacey, and then here's the file that we're looking at. And it says undefined because in the midst of explaining what I was doing, I forgot. I told it where the file was, but I forgot to tell it where to move. I'm gonna hit my up arrow and bring that same command back. And then now we're gonna move it to home, B. Cassini, right? And then press enter. Okay, so now that moved it. I didn't get any error messages, so that should have moved it. Okay, let's try this again for the next file. Okay, so we're moving it from P. Lacey's folder to B. Cassini's folder. So again, directory, directory, file to directory, directory. You guys understanding the directory talk here? All right, good. So basically, these are just file folders, and there's the file in there. All right, so next, let's look at the list and see if we did it correctly. So we're going to use the ls-l command, but we're going to do it in that directory. So I have to go to home, B. Cassini, and then press enter. Then I can see that I've moved both of these files. Okay. When you're done, click Score Lab. As long as you've got the 100%, then you've done it correctly and you can move on to the next one. Okay. How about delete files and directories 2.9.10? So the White Horse project is complete. Everything produced under the code name has been backed up and removed from the system. Now you need to remove the White Horse directory structure from your system. So you're going to use the RM command, which will remove the directory and all its contents. The -R option will delete the directories and files, and the -F option deletes without prompting. So in this task, your lab is to delete the directory and all of its contents. Okay, so we want to remove the directory and all of its contents. The RM command should do that. The -R option will delete directories and all files in the directories, and the -F option deletes without prompting. Okay, so let me show you a few things. If we just did, again, the switches are important to use. So if we just did remove that directory, then we're going to say cannot remove directory is a directory. You're like, what? We're supposed to remove the directory. What do you mean we can't is a directory? What? So what we need to do is use the -R and the -F option and have it remove it, even though there's files already in it. So let's remove -R, -F. Now it seems to be gone. But if we do an ls-l, no such file or directory. So we know that we've gotten it done, right? We know that it's done. Yes. Click Score Lab. Pass at 100% means that we've gotten it completed. Click Done. Again, you'll just arrow over, you'll do your practice questions, practice them until you're getting them all correct. Make sure that you're understanding the why with these, because that's really the big key. Create a hard link. Okay, so in this one, 2.10.4, Will Adams, or W. Adams, owns and maintains a database file in the home W. Adams called contacts.db. The file holds contact information for prospective clients, and Brenda Cassini, or B. Cassini, and Vera Edwards, or V Edwards, want to access and add contact information to the file to share the data among the three users. So in this lab, your task is to create, your task is to create hard link files to the home W. Adams contacts.db as followed. You're going to use the contacts link as a hard link name, and then you're going to create a file in the following directories: home B. Cassini and home V. Edwards. So let's click Start Lab. Okay, so we're going to create hard link files to home W. Adams.db as follows. Oh my goodness. I don't remember what I read. I don't remember what to do. What do we do, guys? We go ahead and we score the lab. We grab the instructions and copy them, put them in, right? And then after we have that, we just click Done and we start the lab again, because you probably just forgot about some sort of command or something that you went over before you got to this lab. Because you got to remember, you got to do your reading, you got to do your videos, got to do your fact sheets, and got to do your practice questions. But it doesn't mean you're going to remember everything. Some things are going to need repetition. So at the prompt, we're going to type ln home W. Adams contacts.db home B. Cassini contacts _ link. Okay, so ln home W. Adams contacts.db. Then we're going to direct that to home B. Cassini contacts link and hit enter. Okay. Next, we're going to type in ln, and we got to do this for the next one. For the home V. Edwards. And it's the same thing as this. So guess what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm just going to hit my up arrow and go back and change this to V. Edwards. Right? Right, because we have the same command. We're just doing it for a different user. So then I'm going to hit enter. Then when you get done, click Score Lab. Look at that, 100%, and then done. And don't you understand it better? Instead of getting frustrated that you don't know what the steps are, you can go out and get the steps, and that's actually going to help you understand the lab even better. And then click Done, and we're done. Create a symbolic link. Let's see. Don't forget, you've got all this information, including the link facts right here, hard link, symbolic link. So in a symbolic link, also known as a soft link, is a file that points to another file in the file system. A symbolic link is similar to shortcuts in the Windows operating system. With a symbolic link, well, what's a shortcut? If you have a anything that you click on your desktop, all of those are shortcuts because nothing is installed to your desktop, right? So it's basically you click on it and it knows to go where that program is saved or where that executable is saved and then to open it. So that's a shortcut. So separate inodes are going to be used. The link file has an inode that is distinct from the inodes of the file being pointed to. In the output of the LSA command, the lowercase li is used as the first character in the permission string. And then these indicate a symbolic link. And then this character here, the dash and the bigger than character sequence follows the file name, which is followed by the file and the link to point to. So that tells us what a symbolic link is. And then here we've got the commands, the functions, and the examples. So ln.s creates the symbolic link to the file. ln with no options creates a hard link between the file. So we're going to want to use ln-s to create the symbolic link. And you can see it's ln, then here's where the project is, and then this is what we want to link it to in order to get that link to work. ln-s to create the soft symbolic link, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, is a symbolic. So ln-s, then there's the path to the one file, then there's the path to the file that we want to link it to, _ln, okay? And then here's more information on that. Okay, so that's how you would create this symbolic link. So don't be completely lost, guys. The information is in here. So let's create a symbolic link. Start the lab. And then we want to create a symbolic link file to root imitator as follows. And create it in the file home brown. So ln-s home m brown. Is that right? To root imitator. So I'm thinking so. Okay. And now that we did that, is this going to work? Was this correct? I don't know. Is it? Click Score Lab. No, it's not. Because what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? This is going to happen because you're getting the information on like how the command is done and then how they're going to do it. However, if only I could move this lab report. What did I just do? However, you may not know the exact order that things are supposed to go in, because that's what we did. So without the -s option also, the ln command will create a hard link. Okay, so we did do the ln-ls, but maybe we didn't do the order of the files correctly, because I did home in brown first, and then I did the root intimidator. So let's do it this way. ln-s, okay, root intimidator. Intimidator. Imitator. There we go. Imitator. Apparently I cannot read. Then we want to go to home. M. Brown imitator link. Okay. And I just put LN on that. So that was incorrect the way that I did it. So LN-S root imitator. So we're creating a symbolic link file to the root imitator. And it says to use imitator link as the symbolic name. And I didn't even do that. You can see that right here. And then create the file in home in brown. So this is the file we're doing. This is where we're creating. And then we have to use imitator link as the symbolic link name. All right. And then hit enter and then score lab and ta-da. Now it's 100% passed. So as you can see, these labs really are not as hard as they seem like they are, because there are ways to figure them out, right? And there are ways to learn, get your learning down, and to make sure you understand what it is that you're doing. And you notice when I go in and I say, oh, whoops, I got this wrong, then I'm understanding, why did I get this wrong? When I look at the instructions, what is different compared to what I did? All right. Now for your discussion this week, remember you have 2 discussions and both discussions need to be completed. Okay. Both discussions need to be completed. So when you go into your discussion 1, you've got all kinds of information here that you can read about. Okay. Review the glossary in the course online resource page before moving forward with this reading. If you do not go through and read this information, you are missing out, and you may make mistakes and miss doing something that you were expected to do. So you're going to feel like you're not getting the knowledge that you need to get. So this is important to do. Make sure that you're going through and reading this information. And you know what? If you don't like to read it, here's a little spot right here. You can tell it to play and it will read to you.
The various distributions or flavors of Linux have adaptations to the OS, such as a modified desktop or an OS that caters to high-end scientific calculations.
Okay, so you can use this little tool and have it read it to you if you're not the type of person that likes to read for your learning style. Some people want to read. Some people will want to take it and mark it off as they go and figure out exactly where they're at. Some people would rather listen to it and practice it. Okay. So whatever it is you need, it's here. Read through all of this information. Here's some methods of installing Linux. Okay. Using the command line. View this video. I put this video in here. Probably wasn't supposed to. These things are not working in some of the areas. I really don't know. I would just say, go to YouTube and just search for like whatever the name of it is and you might find another video that will sit in its place and will take control of those, because I didn't build the course. I'm not allowed to make changes in the course really. So you'll need to go out and do that. So prompt this week, you learned about the Linux command line and the graphical user interface. Describe which method you would believe to be easier to use and why. Or if you think it depends on a specific situation you're working with, explain why. Expound your thinking by providing examples that you use with either or both approaches. So listen, there are no wrong or right answers for these guys. We're just asking you for your opinion. And you could even get on Google because you need to have a reference. I think actually I do not see. Can I show the location of the glossary? That is a good question. Okay, so review the glossary in the course online resource. All right, so let's go to modules. And here we should find, I don't see it in there. Okay, let's go here and go to, if it's not going to be in there, we'll check readings and videos. And they've got learning objectives. So really your only online resource from what I can see is Test Out. So let me just make sure. Oh, you're very welcome. Now that's a good question because they're not there. This happens sometimes with their courses. I do not know why they do this stuff, but is what it is, right? So no course online resource for this. So it's going to be in Test Out. Let's see, in Test Out, right there's a glossary. So when you go to the glossary, here's where you're going to get, and you can do a printout or you can do a copy. And this is where you're going to get all of your terminology and what it means. Okay? All right. So that's where our glossary is. I'm glad you asked that because I didn't even know where that was. I was like, what? Wait, that was confusing. So there's our glossary right in here. And you can use these little sandwich, to get around to anywhere. There's the glossary. Here's practice exams that you can do when you get through all of this stuff. And it's really, really cool because it's designed to really help you work on practicing until you can get it. And then you can take the certification practice exam. These are all practice exams. So right here is a practice exam so that if you wanted to take, excuse me, the CompTIA, you could go here and do your practice exam. And I'm going to say, if you can get like 95% correct on this practice exam, if you can get to where you're on that percentage, then you're pretty much ready to go take the certification exam. The labs will be definitely important because that's going to help you a ton to be able to remember what it is that you're doing when you go take a certification exam. But I am going to tell you, if you go and you take your certification exam and you don't pass it the first time, please don't process that internally. These are very difficult exams. The CompTIA exam is designed to make you fail. If you miss a question and you get that question wrong, it's going to give you 3 or 4 more questions in that exact same area in order to try to force your score down. That's the way the exam is designed. So one technique you can use while you're taking the exam is if you run across a question and you don't know the answer to it, flag it. You save it to the end. Do not answer it. Not only does that help you keep from getting like 3 or 4 more questions in that area, but it can kind of help with your time too, because you still have to answer the question in the end, but you're not going to get 3 or 4 more questions in that same area. It works the opposite way too. The exam has what's called PBQs. And so these PBQs are performance-based questions. They're often drag and drop. Actually, Test Out has better labs than they do on the actual exam. And so they're going to be drag and drop. You'll go take them. But if you flag every single performance-based question, the exam is going to know it, and it's going to give you more performance-based questions, which take more time to finish, and you may in the end not finish the exam. So if you go in and you take exam first time and you don't pass, don't be hard on yourself at all. Just say, okay, I have some areas where I need to go back and study, figure out what those gaps are, fill in those gaps, and then go back and retest. Okay. Because again, they're designed to make you fail. They have to prove that you know what you're doing. You know, they're telling employers that if you go in and you pass the certification that you have a clue what you're doing, and an employer will say, oh, you have the Linux Plus, I'm going to employ you. They expect you to know what you're doing. Doesn't mean you can't ask questions if you run across something you don't know, okay? It doesn't mean that you're never going to run across things that you don't know, that you don't have to look up or you don't have to Google. No one knows everything. All right? And things change. Things do change. They change all the time. They are working on creating hardware from molecules. When they figure out how to get them to stick together and stay together, it's going to surpass any of the speeds that we have today. There are so many things that are going to change. Some of the stuff that is available now with you as students will not be available when you graduate. That's okay. That's okay. Because the whole idea of being a tech is learning to be adaptable, learning to research, learning to find your answers. I once had somebody bring me a computer, and this isn't even Linux. This is just a standard thing. But I had somebody bring me a computer once, and they asked me to fix it because they took it to the repair store, and the repair store had it for 3 days and they couldn't figure it out. And she's like, I just need somebody to be able to fix it, and I can't wipe it because I just need to save all of my stuff on here. I just can't do this. And I really, really need to get this fixed until I can get my stuff backed up. I said, okay, I'll take a look at it. I can't promise you I can fix it, but I'll certainly take a look at it. And I started the laptop up, and the nastiest commercials you could think of was coming over the speakers, and they just would not stop. And it was going and going and going and going. And it was loud. You couldn't adjust the volume. You could not change anything. It was just like Viagra this, Viagra that, and even worse commercials than that, right? So nobody wants to hear that stuff, especially you got little kids. You're like, I can't, every time my laptop comes up, I can't be having this stuff going on. So it took me a good 3 days to figure it out. And I ended up having to run 3 different types of adware, and I had to run them in a specific order in safe mode in order to get rid of this nasty malware that she had. All right. So I did finally fix it, and I did finally figure it out, but it took me a while because there wasn't a lot of information online about that. So it's also going to be important to document things. When you go across something that you've never seen before, and it takes you 3 days to figure it out because there's not much online about it, you're going to want to document it. I've had that happen on a Linux server that I had, and it was weird because everything looked like it should be working, but it just wasn't working. And I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to figure it out, and I just could not figure it out. It just was not going to work. So sometimes when you're troubleshooting things and you need to get it done as quickly as possible because you have 10 million things on your plate because you're in IT and you're a very busy person, it's just faster to just wipe it and rebuild it, right? But sometimes you have to have that server up, and the only time you could take it down to wipe it and rebuild it would be when nobody else is there or nobody else is using it, if that's the case. Or you may have to build a new one and then redirect traffic when you take down the old one, if that's what you need to do. Okay. There's a lot of different ways that you need to do it. And what really irks is when you try wiping it and reinstalling it, and for some reason it still didn't fix it. You're like, I just wiped it. I just realized, why is this not working? This should be working. Okay. So it took me forever to figure out how to fix this little issue that it was having. And honestly, I don't even remember what the issue was now because this is like 15 years ago. But I finally figured it out and I wrote it down in the documentation on how to fix it whenever this issue happens. And I kept it in a little notebook in my office so that, you know, I could go back and review it anytime that I needed to review it. And sure enough, a year later, it decided to do the same thing. And there was still really not any information online about it. I was so happy that I had documented that and kept it because I had it fixed in less than 5 minutes because I had it in documentation. So as an IT person, it's really important to write down your fixes or, you know, even put them on a folder, but it's better that you print them out and put them in a physical notebook, because if the server that you're working on is having the problem and that's where you got your files and you can't access your files, right? So you get a notebook and you keep this information printed out in your notebook so that you can look it up anytime that you need to, right? All right, guys, so it is about 10 till, and I am going to leave the last 10 minutes open for any questions that you may have. If you have any, just hit me up with questions. If not, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. And if you need any help, give a holler to our lab instructor, because he's here to jump into Zoom with you or whatever it is that you need, and he can walk you through and help you figure out where your mistakes are and what it is that you need to do on these labs, okay? So thanks, guys. I'm here if you have any questions, just give me a holler. You know, that's a good question. I've been a lab instructor for so long, I totally forgot about lab lecture quizzes. So we better go over that, haven't we? I think we better go over that. All right, thank you. So your first question and I'm just going to show it right up here. All right. So the first question in the live lecture is not anything that I talked about today. Isn't that great? Which of the following best summarizes the lecturer's comments about man pages? Well, they can be useful to all Linux administrators. So that is in your test out videos, but here we go. There's the answer to that one. Question 2. Select the comment that best reflects the lecture content about environment variables, and they control the behavior of the user's shell environment. Question 3. According to the lecture content, what is the important part of configuring the Linux operating system? Checking for compatibility. That's actually quite common for any operating system, any hardware that we're putting together. We always have to make sure that we have compatibility, whether it's software, hardware, or whatever it is that we're putting together. I went to work at school and they had UPS systems. So a UPS system you use to plug into your servers, your PCs, whatever you want. And what it does is it keeps them from getting too much power to them or not enough power to them. It helps them with brownouts. The battery backup will last for a few hours. And so I go in there and I'm thinking they're like, and I was new on the job. I really didn't know what was going on yet. And they're like, well, we're going to cut off the electricity, but they didn't tell me. And so I didn't know it. And I come in, my battery that only had lasted for 2 hours, everything was shut down. I had to fix everything when I come in. But what they didn't do was they didn't get compatible UPSs. So they had Macs, and you're supposed to have a plug, a USB plug that goes from the UPS to the computer, and then you're supposed to install the software on the computer so that if the battery is running too low and the electric still isn't on, it'll actually shut down your computer instead of just getting the electric shut off of it, because that way it gets a chance to save open files and things like that. Okay. So compatibility, incredibly important. It will not work if it's not compatible, or it will not work correctly. Question 4, according to the lecture content, which of the following commands would be used to find files in directories listed in the path environment variable? And the answer that they're looking for there is which. So again, you should find the content within these chapters that you are doing, and you should find them in here, but I honestly have no idea what they've lined these questions up to, in all honesty. So I don't know if you're going to find this in here or if it's going to be in another week. So thank you for reminding me for going over these live lecture quizzes so that you can get the answers to that. I appreciate that. All right, any other questions? All right, fantastic. If there's no more questions, everyone enjoy your wonderful day. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really glad that was helpful. I will post this video in the live session area. It has to process, but once it's done processing, it'll email me a link, and then I'll put that link in the live session area. Have a great day, everyone.